This is class number 4 in our series on purpose. We started out at the beginning of the year talking about planning, then we went into vision, then we went into purpose. It really should be purpose gives a vision, which gives you the need to plan. But we sort of did it in reverse, so we could start out at the beginning of the year with a concept of understanding why we need to make plans and harness time and change. And then we talked about vision and how that you have eyes to see what was and what is, but you've got a spirit to see what your eyes can't see, to see into the future. So if you want to close it, you can. If it's just leave the one.
I'll put up 2 more directional signs.
That's awesome. All right, we got spun in the gym tonight, but sure, nonetheless, it's just ourselves we'll work with. So we started to talk about this aspect called purpose. And we started off in Genesis chapter 1 talking about in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. We not just talked about that from that aspect of it, but we talked about how that he created everything. Everything was created by him, and the Bible says everything was created for him. But we also went to another scripture in the book of Ecclesiastes that tells us that to everything, there's a time and a season for every purpose under heaven. So everything has a season. Everything has a purpose. And we started off for the first 2 weeks just basically grasping the concept that if you see something, if it exists, it's because there's a purpose to it. There's nothing in the room, there's nothing in the building, there's nothing you will pass by and see that doesn't have a functionality or a purpose to it. The fact that it exists reveals that it has a purpose. And that's the reality. That a thing exists is evidence of its purpose. And so the fact that you and I exist is where we're going, really. You and I need to understand that we have purpose. Now, the purpose of anything lies in the heart of the individual who created it or saw the need for it. And whatever it was they saw, or whatever the need was that needed to be solved or fixed or resolved, they made something, they created something with the intent to facilitate something to accomplish that, the purpose of it. And so the fact that a thing exists is evidence that it has purpose, and the purpose of a thing lies solely in the heart of its creator. So again, when we talk about a thing, I mean, you can use a lot of different things. I use the trolley back here to keep the door open. I'm sure that's not what the trolley was made for. I can use it for a lot of different things. I can use it, as a weight. I can use it for different things. But if you really want to know the intent of what that was created for, then really you go back to the one who designed it, or the one who had a purpose for it, and that there is the purpose to something. So the purpose of a thing lies solely in the heart of its creator. And the thing created does not decide the purpose or functionality of itself. That's decided by the creator. And so many times we spend a lot of time in life looking for a purpose, looking for something to do or to make my life worth living. So we run around thinking, if I could only find a purpose. The truth of the matter is the fact that you exist, you already have one. You didn't get born to look for a purpose. You got born because of a purpose. You didn't get born to look for or add to what you are. You actually were born with everything you need to be the solution to whatever it is God created you to be and created you for. And this is the reality of it. Because many times we spend a lifetime experimenting with all sorts of things, trying to discover what I do best and what my need is, what my functionality is. And the truth is, if you really want to know what you're about, you go to the Creator, which is God. And I said this too over the last few weeks. You never find yourself until you find God. When you find God, you'll find yourself. You say, why? Because He was the one who originally created you for the intent or the purpose for which you were created. You're not here to find a purpose. You're here because of purpose. That's why you're here. And so we talked about how everybody knows where they are, and they know what and who they are, or they know how they got here. But we said the main question everybody should ask is why? Why am I here? Why do I exist? Why in this generation? Why in this locality? Why in this culture? Why in this, so on and so forth? The why gets you to start explaining purpose or functionality. And it's a very important question. The answer to why is purpose. That's what it is. We talked last week about how people knew their purpose. God's not trying to hide the purpose from you. Jesus knew his purpose when he was 12 years of age. John the Baptist knew his purpose. He knew what he wasn't, but he also knew what he was. He knew his purpose. They understood those things. They were aware of those things right from the get-go. We talked about Jeremiah knowing his purpose. We talked about Isaiah knowing his purpose right from the get-go, right from the very beginning. You okay?
I'm so sorry.
You're all right. You don't have to apologize. You need a key for that?
Yes, sir.
You might have one. I might just have a key for that. Just pull that back, pull the bag. There's a key lying on the floor there somewhere. No, on the floor, yeah. There you go, that bunch of keys. And see the brown one? This one here, that might do it.
Thank you so much.
I hope it does.
Oh, it's a frog. Okay. It's he, she, it is somewhere in here.
All right. So, most things. There you go. I'm getting it from everywhere tonight. Don't worry about him. He can sing away. But God's not holding purpose back from you. He's not. He wants everybody to know their purpose. And so here, for example, it says, and he sent and he brought him. This is David, when David was a little shepherd boy. And he says, now he was ruddy and had beautiful eyes and was handsome. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. And Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon David. And from that day forward, and Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. Or basically what it's talking about here is that right from the get-go, right from the early years, David knew who he was. He was only 15, 16 years of age when he was anointed to be king. He did not become king for another 17 years. But there was a call on his life. There was a purpose on his life. He's out minding sheep, but in actual fact, whatever job he was doing, he still had a higher call on his life. And many of us find ourselves doing all sorts of work, and there's nothing wrong with work. Work is one of the ways of getting out the things that are inside of you. It's the only way to get it out of you is work. And we'll talk about that later. But those concepts of fulfilling your purpose, they may take time. The job you're in right now might be the one preparing you for the purpose of your life. Raising your family, having your children may be very much a part of the purpose of God for your life that you've naturally flown into because of the draw or the desire for a family or for marriage or for company and whatever. And there may be giftings and graces in you that are very much a part of your purpose. You've leaned into them. But you know what? There's still more. There's still more. They're very generalistic purposes, but they're not to be done away with as not being your purpose of life, but they are your purpose, but there's more. There's a lot more, in fact. The fact that you're still sucking oxygen proves that there is more. So David went on later on to become king. And David made a whole bunch of mistakes, in case you didn't know that. And so it says here, David in Psalm 57 says, be merciful unto me, O God, be merciful unto me, for you in my soul take refuge. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge, till the storms of destruction pass by. I cry out to God Most High, to God who fulfills his purpose for me. So even though David had missed it and he had hard times, in this case he's just having a hard time. He hasn't reached his purpose yet, but he's aware that God is still doing it. God is still working that purpose in his life, through his life. Even though sometimes it seemed like it was very adverse, or he was in the wrong place, or he was out of sequence or out of time, please don't even think that. Sometimes you think, well, am I in the right place? Here's the deal. Desire to be where God wants you to be, and God will steer you that direction. God will take you in that direction. And so it says, he will send from heaven and save me. He will put to shame he who tramples on me. Selah. God will send out of his steadfast love and his faithfulness. Or basically what he's saying is, God, I know you called me to do something. I know there's a purpose in my life, but I'm not there yet. You say, well, you know what? I'm a certain age. You know what? I thought, up to now, I thought I was finished. No, that might have been preparing you for the purpose of your life. You say, well, boy, I'm older. Well, they're the wiser years of life. They're the years when you've got experience and don't have to cut through the flack of a lot of immaturity or indecision or experimentation. So don't ever rule it off. You just have to seek to desire God's will, and God will put you there. And David knew that. Here the Bible says Paul, although he was going in a completely different direction, he was going in a 180-degree direction, the wrong way. It says, and as he journeyed and came near Damascus, suddenly there shined around about him a light from heaven. And he fell to the earth, and he fell on the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, who you persecute. It's hard for you to kick against the goadings. And then he says, and he trembled, and astonished said, Lord, what will you have me to do? Now remember, he's going 180 degrees in the wrong direction. But this may be the very first time that he actually genuinely asked God, really, what do you want me to be doing? And God said, well, I thought you'd never ask. That's why we're having this encounter right now. You're a great guy. You obviously are studious. You obviously have your heart turned toward the things of God. But you got caught up with religion and tradition, which many people do, even though their intention is right. And he ended up, just caught up and ensnared by religion and tradition. He has this encounter with Jesus. And the first thing he asks him is, what do you want me to do? God shows him what he wants him to do. God wants you to know what he wants you to do. And he'll put it in your heart to do it. It says here in Galatians chapter 1, Paul later on, as he gets into the will of God for his life, it says, But when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me by his grace. Notice he said, and Paul said, I now realize that there was a call on my life from when? When? From even before him. From the womb. I knew I had a plan for me. I didn't know what it was. I mean, I spent years in religion. I spent years in tradition. I actually persecuted the very thing I'm a part of now. He said, but when he acknowledges that call of God on his life, he doesn't say, on the day when I was on the road to Damascus, I realized that God had called me to do something. Nah, he only realized then that God had called him to do that from before he was born. God had a plan for him. God had an intent for him. Paul wasn't a guy looking for a purpose. Paul was born with a purpose. He just didn't know what it was. He found God and found the purpose. And he says, I'll read it again. When it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me by his grace to reveal his Son in me, that I might preach him among the heathen, immediately I conferred not with flesh and blood, neither went I to Jerusalem to them which were apostles before me, but I went into Arabia, and I returned again unto Damascus. Paul found out what the purpose of his life was, but what I wanted to show you was that purpose didn't come to him on the road to Damascus. That purpose was born in him. He just didn't know it. David's purpose was in him. When Samuel anointed him, it was still 17 years before the guy ever became the king. And in fact, the very king that he was taking over spent years trying to kill the guy. And so he's running away thinking, I'm living in a cave for goodness sake, and I know you anointed me with oil, and you said I was going to be the king, but this is as far from it as it'll ever be. And he said, but you know what, God, I know you're working out your purpose for me. And sometimes we think, well, God will never use me, or I don't know what it is just yet. But you know what? If you have a heart for it, God will lead you, guide you, reveal to you, and unveil the purpose for your life. And you know what? Many times, the things you're doing are very close to what it is. If you knew what God had specifically for you, then you do what you do with more fervor and boldness because you know that God was in it. And that supernatural ability would back you up. So we said this last week, I just wanted to remind you, for the gifts and the callings of God are without repentance. They're irrevocable. God does not pull that back, even though David missed it as king, even though Paul missed it in religion and tradition. God didn't revoke the plan. God didn't throw his hands up in the air and say, you know what, I shouldn't have made him, shouldn't have made her, shouldn't have picked that for them. No, God picked the right thing and put the right ingredients in you and me to fulfill and answer the purpose or the call for our life. We may not know that yet specifically, but you know what? God's not going to change his mind about you or me. We talked about this. Your free will, and you have a free will when it comes to the purpose of God. Although it's already in you, although God has a plan for you, you have to want to do it. And so your free will is expressed by three things. Your submission to that purpose, or you decide to be independent from that purpose. And I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm afraid if I yield to God, he'll send me to China God doesn't always send you where you don't want to go. In fact, many of the time when you yield to the call of God, it's very much what you want to be. It's very much what you want to do. It's very much what gives you pleasure and joy in life. It's not something that's miserable. A lot of times people think, if I found out the purpose of God for my life, I'd be miserable. He'd send me somewhere that I don't want to go. He wouldn't. You'll find out that it's exactly what you were made to be and exactly what you love to do is probably the very thing that God has planned for you. So it's your submission to that purpose, your independence from that purpose, or your ignorance of it. And many times, a lot of people never find the purpose of God for their life because they're just not aware that they have a purpose, that there is a call of God upon their life. They're not sure of it. And so I said last week that there's 5 questions that people always ask. Everybody does. The first of those questions is, who am I? The next one is, where am I from? Another one is, why am I here? Another one is, what can I do? Or, where am I going? And so they categorize these 5, and everybody at some stage asks themselves one or more of these questions. These are questions that we want to answer. Who am I? We start to talk about who you are, where you live, where you came from, mum, dad, relations, relatives. Where am I from? Well, you go to your heritage or your source or your ethnicity or your country or culture, and why am I here? And then you start talking about your purpose. Well, it's actually tied to the first 2. But you can talk about, what you're doing now naturally or physically, job-wise. Then you say, what can I do? What are your capabilities? Or what's your potential? You can talk about that. I'm good at this, love doing that. This is the joy in my life. Find math very easy. Na, 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 na. Or where am I going? And of course you say, well, you know what? It's, I don't know, que sera, sera. I just hope I live long and get to enjoy life and be happy. Now, there's nothing wrong with those things as far as purpose is concerned, especially when we're ignorant of the fact that we actually have functionality due to the very fact that God made us and we exist, but we're just not aware of it. Now, as born-again believers, it should be different. We'd ask the same questions again. Who am I? Well, I'm a spirit being. I'm a new creature in Christ Jesus. So, where am I from? Well, you know what? I'm a citizen and ambassador of the heavenly kingdom. Hey, listen, I got my start, my mom and dad, my parents, my grandparents. I understand that, I've come from this, and because of them I'm here. But really, I'm a citizen and an ambassador of a heavenly kingdom, and that's really part of the purpose of my life right now. And why am I here? Well, it's tied to the first 2. I'm a spirit being and I'm an ambassador of a kingdom now that I'm born again. And what can I do? Well, I've got graces and giftings and all sorts of inherent, inbuilt potential. And where am I going? Well, I've got an eternal inheritance and a future for me in Christ Jesus. And so your mindset starts to think about my life being more than just the job that I'm in or the address that I live at. There's much more to your life than that. Most people, they spend their life just sort of being defined by the world that they're in. Or as I said a few weeks ago, and again last week, some people get a C in an examination and they spend the rest of their life allowing that grade at that time, that one day, define them for the rest of their lives. It's terrible that we would do that. We are much bigger than a grade C from some university or college. There's much more potential on the inside of you. So, purpose is not determined by what a person can do. You say, well, I can do this, I can do that. Obviously, this is my purpose. No, not necessarily. So people a lot of times think their purpose is connected to what they can do. Or purpose is not determined by what a person is actually doing. It's not what I can do, but here's what I am doing. So obviously that's my purpose. No, you know what? That doesn't define you either. Because there's a lot of times we want to just pack our bags and sit where we are and say, this is it. This is what I do. Obviously that's my purpose. Or this is what I can do. Or obviously that's my purpose. No, you've limited yourself. Purpose is determined by the original intent of the one who created you. Always go back to that. You say, but this is what I've always done. This is what I can do. And you know what? Thank God that you can. Thank God that you did. But don't limit yourself to that and think, well, just because I could or just because I do, that's what I'm going to do or that's it done. It's not. There still is purpose for your life. God still has potential in you, and it's His purpose that will eventually or ultimately shine through if you will look for it and allow it to happen. So, there are 6 things in life that most people need. And they're very, very important. In fact, we watched a terrible tragedy this week down in a school in Texas, and one a few weeks before in a shopping mall, and so on and so forth. And we look at some very tragic things going on in life, and everybody's running around saying, well, it's this problem or it's that problem, and we're blaming, this, or we're blaming that, or we're blaming, different constitutional amendments, or we want to bring in legislation. I heard a pastor this morning, in actual fact, on television, on one of the channels, a Baptist pastor from Texas, not far from where that tragedy happened this week, a lovely man, and they asked him, how has it affected your community? He said, well, I have some people within my own ministry community that were affected by this directly, and of course others know others, and we're a small community. He said, and then they asked him, what's your opinion of this terrible tragedy? He said, well, you know what? He said, you're trying to solve the wrong problem. He said, let me tell you this, when Adam and Eve existed in the garden, and they come out of the garden, they had children, and the older son killed the younger son. And it wasn't a gun issue at that time, it was just a sin issue at that time. And people have had hatred, or have had hiccups in life, or have had problems of life that have caused people to do very evil and wicked things. And they'll use whatever they have at hand to do it. He said, but the issue is not what they have at hand, the issue is what went on in heart. And he started to explain, and I thought, oh my goodness, what a great explanation on the national news media of somebody saying, hey, you know what, we're looking in the wrong place to fix this. The problem is a heart issue. And whatever was manifest last week, the issue was not what he had in his hand, the issue was what was going on in his heart. And he said, that's our problem. We're not fixing heart issues. We're trying to legislate instruments instead of fix problems. And we keep legislating against the tools of anger, hatred, and sin, but you're not dealing with the anger, hatred, and sin. That's the problem. And I thought, my goodness, little pastor from a little church in Texas giving the continent a lesson in morals and values that politicians and everybody are missing. It was brilliant, and I was so proud of him this morning. But there are when he said that, I was thinking of these things here. There are 6 things that everybody on this planet, humanity, needs. And when you miss one of these, or one of these go awry, it causes a heart problem. It breaks something within us. And these 6 things are things that we look for. Every single one of us desire these things. It's what makes us feel important. It's what makes us feel significant. And what makes us feel that my life is worth living. And there's so many people today think their lives are not worth living. There's such an increase in people losing their life, or taking their life, or accidentally, because of seeking just departure for momentary thing, whether it be by drugs or something else, just to step out of the pain of life for a while, unknown to themselves, or hurting themselves to the point of not recovering from overdoses and so on and so forth. And again, we look at it and say, we have a drug problem. No, you don't have a drug problem, you have a heart problem. It's people take drugs to get away from the pain of heart. We say we have a gun problem. Well, you don't really have a gun problem, you have a hatred problem, or an anger problem, or mental issues. You have problems. You're not fixing the problems, you're just dealing with the tools of it. It's not a drug problem, it's a heart problem. You take prayer out of school so the kids have no morals or values or 10 commandments to live by. Don't steal, don't covet, don't hate, honor your parents. You take away standards or principles or guardrails, take them out of school, then the kids have nothing. Who gives them the guardrails? And then we wonder why, schools are gone wrong. And then we put other stuff into them, and we try and teach them other things, or tell them other things about themselves right from their kids. And we wonder why it's going wrong. You say, well, it's education. No, that's not education. You're not fixing problems, you're creating heart problems. You need to fix heart problems. Or you take the 10 Commandments out of the courtrooms, for example. morals and standards and values that a constitution and a country hold and held to high esteem. You take them out and move them out now because they're irrelevant. They're not irrelevant. They're absolutely relevant. They're the guardrails for purpose and how we live our purpose out. You take those guardrails away, prayer or standards or morals or values, and you take them away, and people are just all over the shop. And that's what's wrong. And then we're running around blaming everyone and everything when really these are the issues that we're looking for. Here they are here. Everybody on this planet is looking for significance. Everybody is looking for significance. What is significance? Significance is this. I wrote it down here. It's a sense of importance by the quality of character. Everybody wants to feel important. There's nothing worse than living your life thinking that nobody cares, that you don't make a difference, that if you didn't exist, nobody would bother. It wouldn't bother anybody. Everybody wants to be significant. They want to have a sense of importance by the quality of the character, the fact that they are there. Or significance also means the quality of being worthy of attention. Gosh, who wants to go through life, all of their life, without anybody acknowledging that they're important or that they exist or that they're worthy of attention? They're just nobodies. You see people that feel so insignificant. They feel that nobody cares. They feel that they're not worthy of attention. They live under bridges or they go off into the into the wilderness just to get away because they feel that nobody cares. Significance or having consequence or having meaning. You take significance away from an individual and you break them. You've broken something in them. They don't feel worthy of attention. You take significance away from them. They don't feel that they have a quality of character that anybody would care. You take significance away from them and they feel that they don't have a meaning. You take significance away from an individual, you've already broke them. You've broken something that they need, because we all need that. We all need to feel that our lives make a difference. We all need to have significance. Another thing is relevance. Relevance. What's relevance? Relevance is being connected to function. Hey, I belong to something. I'm a part of something. I'm a part of a team. I'm a part of a club. I've got partners or friends I belong to. I'm relevant. I'm connected to function or a task or a matter at hand. I'm involved. I'm in. Hey, I'm in. Hey, is Vince here? Hey, is Michael here? We'll just wait for them to show. Why? Because they're relevant. They're relevant to what we're doing. They're relevant to the task. Everybody wants to feel that they belong to something or are a part of something or are included in something. We need significance and relevance or pertinence or a significant part. We want to be a significant part of something. I want to belong to something. I don't want to feel I belong and that the people that are there want me to belong. Or being related to the matter at hand. I'm contributing to something. I'm needed when it comes to my contribution or my skill set or my attendance or my smile or my encouragement. I just want to be a part of something. Everybody needs significance. Everybody needs relevance. You take that away from people, you've broken them. They become broke. Nobody needs them. They're not a part of anything. Their contribution's not worth anything. They're no value pertaining to any task at hand. They're the last people to call. It's a horrible feeling. When I was at school, it's a long time ago, but during the morning break, we had a morning break for about 15, 20 minutes. And so, the bell would ring and we'd all clamber out of our classrooms, out into the yard and the field and everything that sort of went with the school. And us guys in the higher levels, we used to play football, soccer. But we used to play with a little ball, just a little small one, because you weren't allowed to bring a full soccer ball into school in case you break a window. But what we'd have to do is as soon as the bell went, we would just barrel out of the classroom, out into the shelter. We call it a shelter. It was a rain shelter. And we'd all line up against the wall. And there'd be, 30 of us. And then the two best soccer players, the best soccer players, would always get to pick the team. They became the captains of the two teams. And we had to do it real quickly because we only got 15, 20 minutes. Pick your team, and then we go out and play on the tarmac. We put our jumper or our sweater down and make goal posts, and then we 50 yards, the size of the gym here, and then we start playing with this little small tennis ball, and we play soccer, right? So we had to get it done real quickly. So we'd all line up against the shelter wall, and the two best players, we all know who they were, of course. They'd say, okay, I'm picked first. So right, I pick you, and then they'd pick the next best player, third best, fourth best, fifth best, sixth best, and they were jockeying for all the best people to pick their best team. And so it all happened real quick. And then you sort of pick your teams and you go play soccer for the 15 minutes, and we run up and down and play. Now there's nothing worse than being left to the last one or two where they didn't pick you because they didn't see your significance or your relevance to the game. They didn't think you could contribute much to the task at hand. And it was bad enough to be left to the last few. You're down to the last half dozen, and all the others are all getting ready because they're playing with their best captains, and they're all you're going to be right wing, you're going to be centre forward, and sort of the other six are standing at the wall thinking, does anybody want me? You would pick me as an obstacle even. I mean, because they'd have to go around me at least. But then that's bad. But there was one thing worse than that. It was worse than that when the captain of a team would look at the players that he had got to pick and realize he had a Class A team, and he'd look at the remaining four people and he'd turn around and say, hey, you can have them. And the whole four of them got fired over to the other team, not because they were picked, but because this team felt they didn't need them. That does nothing for your encouragement as far as playing soccer is concerned. You always felt, I'll never be good at this, I'll never be relevant, I'll never be significant, and I'll never be a soccer player. Because they told you that every time they picked the side. Of course, I was the captain. No, I'm only joking. I was probably one of the few that they said, we don't need you. But relevance and significance, you all need it. What would your life be like if you had no significance? If people didn't care, if you didn't matter, if others weren't concerned, or you didn't contribute to any task at hand, or there was no value in your character, no value in your input, it would be horrible. It would break you. Recognition. Recognition is the acknowledgement of someone's existence. Just people to realize that you exist. Hey, you're my neighbor. You're just up the street. Hey, you're a great guy. Great people. Lovely neighbors. Friendly people. Great kids. Lovely family. Just a recognition that you exist. It's being remembered from past engagement. There's nothing worse than to meet somebody, say hello, have a chat, and everybody sort of lean in, and you look like, hey, we've got some friends, only to find out, you pass them in the street, a week later, and they walk past you like they never saw you, don't know who you are. Think, oh, that didn't go very far, I can't even remember that they met me. And I told them a whole life story, I poured my heart out, thought we made a connect. Nah, they're not even interested. They were sort of looking at me, but they were looking through me. It's terrible. Or just to be uniquely identified. Hey, I know that guy. He's a good, so on and so forth. Importance. Accounted as having value or infamy or famous. There's something about you that just makes you stand out. Importance as considered to be of a high degree of interest. Or importance in distinction of functionality or notoriety or priority. You're an important individual. Hey, you got a great job. You do an important work. You contribute in an important way. And you know what? I understand that it's a serious job. You're a police officer, or you're an accountant, or you're a judge, or and you lean in and say, well, they've obviously got great significance. People find them important. Or worth is of benefit or usefulness or appeal, and then down to having caliber or character or merit or quality or consequence or gifts or talents, and then meaning, to communicate something not directly expressed. You don't run around with a sign on your chest saying this is what I am, but your life reveals it, and people get to know you and see the meaning of your life. It's something that you express. Inquiries about my life and my existence. It's what meaning is all about. Spiritual, physical, and social relevance of me. You take any one or more of them from somebody and you destroy them. They're broken. Not destroyed, but they're broken. We all need significance. We all need relevance. We all need recognition. We all need importance. We all need worth. And we all need meaning. Every one of those things, all of them, are in purpose. Purpose is all of that. Purpose is all of that. Purpose gives you significance. Purpose gives you relevance. Purpose gives you recognition. Purpose gives you importance and worth and meaning. Purpose is the uniqueness of you, and God already put that in you. It's already there. And a lot of people, end up missing out in life because they feel insignificant, or they feel that there's no relevance, or that they have no recognition or importance, worth or meaning of life. It's a terrible place to be. But you'll find all of them in God, and all of those truths are actually inside of you. They're already there. Your life is significant. Your skill sets have relevance, and your action of life will bring you the individual recognition and importance and worth and meaning that make you you. And a lot of people exit life or miss life or live life miserably with problems because they're missing. And this runs from kings to paupers. Kings have the same. You can have all the money in the world, but they still want to be significant. They still want to be relevant and recognized and so on and so forth. And it's amazing what people will do to get these things. It's amazing what people will do just to get recognition, or just to feel important, or just to get known. I watched a politician yesterday interrupt a thing, and I thought, why would you do that? People are grieving and hurting, and it's very, very sad. Don't do that. No, not yet. Do that at a later time, but not now. And people were angry because, you're trying to gain points here and there and get your name out. There's no better time to be seen when everybody's looking in one own area, but that's not what they were looking for. What they were looking for was to empathize and sympathize and whatever, and you got to know the moment. But it's amazing what people will do, looking for these things. People will steal for it, kill for it, destroy others for it. Just amazing. Everybody is looking for this, and really what they're doing is they're looking for purpose for their life. And when you can't find your real purpose, then these all get confused because you're maybe shopping or fishing in the wrong arena for those things or to produce those things. But they're all in purpose. So when I talk about this little individual here, that little individual there, that little acorn, in that acorn is its significance, relevance, recognition, importance, worth, and meaning. It's all in it. It's not external of it, it's all internal of it. Your significance and relevance, your recognition, importance, worth, and meaning is already in you. It's not external of you. It's when you start to be you, when you start to fulfill your purpose of life, to do the very reason for which you were given life by God, for the solution of which your life is actually here to do. When you start to do that, it's there. It comes out. You'll find the purpose of your life. It's all there. So let me put it to you this way. The purpose of a thing exists in the heart of the Creator. That's why He made it. Everything it can or will be already exists within it. It's already there. You're not looking for a purpose. You are a purpose. You are a purpose. And everything that you want and all that you need is already in there. The importance, the meaning, the recognition, the relevance, the significance, it's all in you. It's all there. You're unique and special. And God made you with purpose. Different than anybody else. So different that your iris is different. So different that your fingerprint is different. So different that your DNA is different than anybody else. When God made you and the purpose for which He made you, He threw away the mold. He didn't make another like you, and He didn't make another to undo you or cause you to be unemployed. He didn't do that. He'll never revoke the call, purpose, and plan He had for your life. You are uniquely you. He made you and then threw the mold away, and everything you needed to be is already in you. See, a lot of times when we look at that acorn, we think, well, that acorn, when it becomes an oak tree, that's when it has everything. That's not true. That's when it manifests everything. But everything it needs to be actually resides within it. All the capacity to be that oak tree lies within the seed. Everything you need to fulfill the purpose of God is not external of you, it's internal in you. And all you'll have around you are the tools to help draw that out of you. That's all. That's all that it's for. Everybody with me so far? All right. Potential, because that's what's in you. That's what you call potential. All of that relevance, significance, all of that stuff that's in you already, that's called potency, the potential, the power to be that. Potential is the dormant ability within to fulfill your purpose. It's dormant. That means it's there, but it has to be activated. Again, you can submit to purpose, you can be independent of it and say, I don't want to know, or you can just be ignorant of it and say, well, I just wasn't aware. But the minute you start pressing for it, God will help you find it, because it's there. It's really what makes you tick. So it makes you you. So this is what predestination is. Let me just, you don't have to remember these. I'm just taking you on a journey just to help you understand purpose. Okay? Because a lot of times we use the term purpose. What's your purpose? Well, it's what I do. Now that doesn't define you. Well, it's what I can do. Now that doesn't define you either. Well, what defines me? Your Creator defines you. Have you asked Him? No, I haven't got around to it. Well, then you actually don't know your purpose. You really don't. Now, you may have fulfilled your purpose and you weren't aware of it, but, you've lived life wondering. But as soon as God turns around and says, hey, you know what? It's amazing. You just leaned into everything I wanted you to be and do. You just didn't know it. You'd have been a happier individual, and you might have got a lot more done a lot quicker if you hadn't known God was in it with you. But here's what predestination means. God sets the destination before you begin your journey. That's called purpose. God set your destiny. This is what He wants you to be, what He wants you to do, and all the abilities to do it are already put in you. God sets the destination before you begin your journey. This pre-planning of God gives you and I the environments, situations, circumstances, and the challenges that activate, manifest, and reveal our purpose. God puts us in environments. He allows things to come our way. You say, oh boy, what's that all about? That's part of getting out of you what's in you. It's all there. It's all there. So why would God, why I'm getting it tough at the moment. No, you're being toughened at the moment. So it's very, very tough. Well, if you come out the other side, then you'll have been tougher than the toughness that you were going through. So are you just going through a tough time, or are you being made tougher? Well, it's really hard at the moment. You're getting harder. You're getting better, stronger. But a lot of times we look at the circumstance and think, this circumstance is going to destroy me. No, this circumstance is going to make you. Well, this environment is just, I just don't feel happy. Well, it's not about your happiness. It's about your purpose. Say, well, I don't want to work here. I'm not happy. I don't want to go here. I'm not happy. It's not about your happiness. It's about getting the purpose for your life out of you. And God, in His predestination, pre-plans journeys for us called destiny. And the whole reason of it is just to get out of us what's in us. And see when you go through this, all of this here, what I'm talking about, the circumstance, the environment, the situation, all of these things, in that you will find your significance, you'll find your relevance, you'll find the recognition, importance, worth, and the meaning of your life. But it's all in there. It's all in you. It's all there. Now, let me try and explain something to you, if I may, with the last few minutes we have. When you see a product, whether it be a car or a computer or something, you see that product, That product comes on the market, into the marketplace, when it's made or when it's being made. When do they put it on the shelf? Made, tested, quality controlled. The last thing they put on their product is what? The label, their name. That's the last thing. That's not the first thing they put on. They don't put the label on first and then hope that it'll all come together. They actually take all the parts for purpose, whatever it's meant to do, whatever it's meant to achieve, whatever it's meant to accomplish. They take all the requirements of it, all the ingredients of it. They source it, they test it, they build it, they manufacture it, they prepare it, and within it is all the tools and all the abilities to accomplish its purpose. When they are satisfied that everything within that product meets and has the ability to accomplish and fulfill the purpose, they stick a label on it and they push it out. So when you see the name on it, they've already told you that everything that it's designed to do, purpose to do, already exists within the unit. Correct? When God said, "Let us make man in our image and after our likeness," when God decided that he was going to put his name on humanity, when God said he was going to create a creature like himself and call that creature his, and put his name and likeness on it, he wasn't experimenting with Adam. He was actually, they had put the parts and the requirements and the spiritual attributes together and the physical mechanism through which it would accomplish that. They put it all together and they put it all in man. All of it. It's all there. How many of you have ever, when you get a computer or whatever, I'm sure this thing can probably do 500 or 600 different functions, of which I only know about 10. And I think I'm high tech. Some are even higher tech and they can do 15 things with it. And so, you just do this. And say, oh, boy, that's a shortcut. I didn't know you could do that. Well, you can do it, but your problem was you didn't know you could do it because you're not familiar with the product. You don't understand the product. If you understood the product, you'd understand the capacity, the capability, and the functionality of it if you understood the product. And the only reason it has Apple on it or Macintosh or Microsoft or whatever is because they're satisfied that that product has all the qualities and the requirements to accomplish the purpose. They will not put their name on it before that. I may not fully understand the product. Doesn't mean to say that it's not there. It's just I don't know. How many of you have ever had something and you didn't realize that that was in it? I remember having a car for years, for a few years, and not realizing that the button I had in the thing, it equalized the wheel balances on all four wheels, so that one would compensate. So if one wheel come off the ground, the other three would compensate. I had no idea. And I had a rougher ride than I could have had because if I had to press that button, it had nothing on it. But you know what? I didn't read the manual either. What's the purpose of the manual, by the way? It's to help you understand the product. It's to give you guarantees that once the rules of that product are met, that's what you can expect from the product. And there's a warranty. And the warranty is if anything in that product breaks, we will come for it. We will at our expense receive it back. We will at our expense fix it. And we will at our expense send it back to you or replace it with a better or a new one. Why would they go to all that expense to fix something like that? Pardon? Because their name is stuck on it. Because it represents their reputation. Their branding is on it, whether it's BMW or Porsche or Rolls-Royce or Audi or Ford or whatever. They stick that name on it and then they brag about it. And if anything goes wrong with it, as far as its workmanship or its abilities, they'll take it back and they'll fix it. Because their reputation is much bigger than the problem you're going through right now. Because they guaranteed that it will do this, it will function this way if you will perform within the guardrails or the principles by which it works. It's their namesake that they're concerned about. It's their namesake. And God does things for his namesake. And I'll take it up next week when we do that. But so the whole aspect of you being born again and God putting his name on you and you becoming part of the body of Christ. Do you understand that God will take care of things in your life, not because of you, but because of the product he put in you, the new birth experience, the new covenant reality. All of those promises and all of those rules are in the manufacturer's guidebook. And here's the thing. The guidebook says if you will stick to the rules and the principles, they guarantee you the functionality of the product. They will guarantee it. So success is predictable. Whether you buy a new car or you buy a new TV or a new DVD recorder or something, success is guaranteed provided you stay within the guidelines and the principles and operate within principles. It'll work. They guarantee it. And they'll give you a warranty for it. Did you know that humanity and the new birth experience and the body of Christ and this new covenant that we have, did you know that success in our lives is predictable? Predictable. Provided. What? Follow the details. Stay within the parameters, operate in the principles. Did you know that if success is predictable based on that, did you know that failure is predictable as well? How can you predict failure? Just not do what it says. Take the unit and operate it outside of the guardrails and outside of the principles. So you take your new Porsche and you decide you like coffee, and I'm just going to put coffee in it because I love coffee. I'm going to have it in the morning, and I have some over, so I think I'll just pour it into the gas tank, and hopefully it'll run. You know what? It ain't going to run. It's not because it doesn't have an engine. It's just it's not designed to run on coffee. As much and all as you like it and I like it, it won't. You got to comply with the rules of the functionality of the product because the manufacturer said this is the way it runs. The roles in life, men and women, husbands, wives, leaders, followers, whatever, all of these guardrails and principles of life are there to guarantee success. Many people don't read the rule. How many of you have read your new car manual when you got it, from cover to cover? No, never read one. How many of you have ever read, that new TV? Because as soon as you open the package, the first thing you'll find on the top of the product is what? Pardon? Please read. It's a manual. The whole purpose of the manual is not because they have nothing to do, it's because they guarantee and they will give a warranty to the product to function a certain way to guarantee you success because they've already tried everything in it, prepared everything for it, they've amassed it together, put it together, and they tell you that if you will comply to these rules and these principles, they guarantee you success. Guarantee it. And if it doesn't, for any reason, do what it says in the manual, you tell me, and I'll come and I'll fix it immediately because my name is stuck on the front of it. And my reputation and my name is your success.
It's not doing what it's supposed
to. Yeah. But this is our problem because the truth of the matter is I don't read the ones for the microwave. I discovered something about a microwave there just a few weeks ago. For whatever, I found the manual. I had thrown it up on top of the shelf when I got the microwave and moved to our apartment. Just a little microwave. And you have to type in all the different, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And I was going to throw it out. I just discovered I was up cleaning up top of the press. And I saw it and I thought, This is no, I've never read it. I mean, what's the point? I mean, I'm using it, for goodness sake. And when I climbed down off the little stepladder and I was sitting on the countertop, I just flicked through a couple of pages to see what the graphics were in it. And it had a little thing that says, without you putting, 1 minute, which was 100 or 200, all you got to do is hit this button once and it'll automatically do a minute. Hit it twice, it'll do 2 minutes. Hit it 3 times, and you don't have to keep typing in all of the different, just go tap, 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 and it's 3 minutes. And I thought, boy, that was handy. It's a bit late, because we've had it now since we moved in. It's 3 years. But I've had that there for 3 years, and just a couple of taps, and it would have just, I didn't know it. But it's there. I still threw the manual out, but because I thought I don't need it, but I don't even know what it can't do, or what I'm not doing. I don't know, because I haven't read the thing. Did you know there's so many believers don't even know what they're not able to do? Because they've never found out what they can do. They've never really read it. They've never really studied it. They don't bother. They're just going to wing it from now till Jesus comes back, or until they take the last breath and think, you know what, hey, I made it. Thank God I made it. And God will say, hey, boy, I'm so glad you made it too. But boy, you were a Rolls Royce as you were going through life, and you could have really done life completely different. And you moaned and groaned and complained, and you failed 1,000,000 times. And it wasn't because you were made a failure. It's because your ignorance of the product, your ignorance of your purpose, your ignorance of your significance, the ignorance of the meaning of your life and the relevance of your life and the potential of your life. You didn't find out about it. And so here you were, with 500 functions, of which you only ever truly exercised 10. And then you come up with conclusions. Well, I don't know why God did this, and I don't know why God allows that, and I don't know why the devil does this, and I don't know why I'm not happy, and I don't know. Well, the solution for all of it's in the book. Many times we just don't bother to read it. We are ignorant of who we are and what we have in Christ Jesus. So, with that said, I'm going to go into some of that next week. Here's a rule. Ecclesiastes 12:13 says, this was his conclusion. This guy is phenomenal. Solomon is going to tell you what life is like without knowing purpose. He's going to tell you having money and success and fame and recognition. He's going to have all that, but he's not going to have purpose. And he comes to the conclusion, vanity, vanity, all is vanity. Here I am, I've got everything you could possibly want. I'm as miserable as can be. I've got everything you could possibly want, biggest, best, most. I've got one-of-a-kind treasures. I've got singers from all over the world come and sing for me. And I'm bored out of my tree. I'm standing up here looking out on the balcony thinking, what's life all about? Solomon's going to come to that conclusion. And he's going to come to this conclusion here. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Here's his conclusion. Reverence God. Obey the manual. That's the whole duty of man. Do what you're made to do. Go read what God says about your life and do it. It'll make you as happy as can be. It's not the acquisition of stuff or the achievement of things. It's the fulfillment of purpose that makes you happy in life, not things. We're told in life to go after things. That's what's going to make you happy. It's not. It's not. Purpose will make you happy. Purpose will fulfill your life in more ways than you can imagine. Money won't be an issue. Purpose will be everything. It's just one of those things that the devil has distracted us from altogether. And most people will never find it and will live frustratedly through life, operating in 10 functions out of 1,000 because they never bothered to read the book.